fast. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Dylan Knows. This is the first episode of a new mini-series that hopefully will become a regular series, but intertwined with the Dylan Knows saga called Dylan Knows Movies. This is the very first, as my special co-host Mike mentioned, the inaugural episode. Get it, huh? Got it. Yeah, you got it. But this is the very first episode of Dylan Knows Movies, where I'm going to pluck somebody from the internet at random and say, hey, let's talk about this movie. And they'll be like, no. And I'll say, yes, we're going to. So that's what happened with Mike. So
No, I'm. You know what? I feel incredibly lucky to be included on the first episode of Dylan Knows Movies. I am setting the bar right now that all of your future guests have to try and live up to.
I agree with that, absolutely. And also, talking about setting the bar, the movie we will be talking about is Showgirls. Yeah, woo! And
I feel like I have to throw dollars at the screen now.
Absolutely, and I'll be this way the whole time. Yeah. Luckily, we have no viewers right now. I think I'd scare them off with my manly chest boobs.
Well, if it makes you feel better, I don't have pants on, so.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Excellent. No, good. So I didn't want to try to strip off my luxurious T-shirt with my headphones on, because I'm sure what happened is I'd wrench the headphones off and then the whole thing would be for naught. But believe it or not, Mike, this is the second time I've done the show topless.
Ooh. You know, if you come on Squat Cobbler with Kelly and I expect you to do a topless. We don't do a video thing, so it'll just be for Kelly and I that you're doing that.
Excellent. I'll do it in a second. Absolutely.
And you know what, too? This really earns, I don't know if you, can you see this? It's an official Showgirls shot glass.
Oh, yeah, there it is. Absolutely.
Yeah, so this earns the first shot of the night for me.
And while you're shooting what you're shooting, I'm going to be drinking Cherry Blast. Ah. As I told Mike, I was going to try to get some champagne, but I didn't have any, and I can't afford Cristal, which, for reasons if you haven't seen the movie, will explain very clearly. But yes, so the movie we'll be doing is the cult classic Showgirls. And
do we have to say cult classic? Can't we just say classic?
Yeah, we'll say classic. That's fine. I'm okay with that.
It's a movie you can sit and watch with the whole family. It's a classic.
Absolutely. Oh, geez. Yes, yes, you do. As a matter of fact, I had to refresh my memory because it's been a while since I've seen it. So I actually bought the Blu-ray of it. I had a video copy of it, but I never had a DVD or Blu-ray copy. I bought a Blu-ray copy of it and watched it again last night to refresh my memory. And believe it or not, you know, it's actually not as bad as I remember it, which is weird because it's been a couple of years since I saw it, and I still liked it because of the enormous amount of nudity and sex and the terrible lines, readings, and everything like that. And that's and I was like, yeah, it's gonna be painful. And I was like, yeah, it's not that bad.
Now, did you watch this alone, or?
Yeah, I watched it alone. Unfortunately, my wife and son are away on camping, and my daughter it was after her bedtime, so I figured, we watched The Martian beforehand, so she was already worn out by watching movies. So.
Now, I haven't seen The Martian. How would Showgirls have paired with that as a double feature for the kids?
Well, you do get to see bony white ass like you do in Showgirls with Kyle MacLachlan's. Well, it's not really bony because Kyle MacLachlan's ass is nice and firm and toned when he's walking in the one scene where you see his ass. Whereas in The Martian, it's Matt Damon's bony ass because he's has to ration his food for being left alone on Mars and trying to survive. So it's a bony ass. But there's two ass walking scenes, so that's really the only connection between the two of them, really, I could think of. There's no Crystal.
I'll take Kyle MacLachlan's luscious ass over Matt Damon any day.
In this case, yeah, it was nice. Kyle's nice and round and just want to grab it sometimes. And I think this is actually where the germ of the idea came, was a couple years ago, you and I...
thinking about Kyle MacLachlan's ass?
Yeah, we were thinking about Kyle MacLachlan's ass, yes. you and I and the McGevnas, we were talking Twin Peaks, and
Yes.
I think Showgirls came up in the conversation, and you're like, oh yeah, I love that movie. It's like, yeah, it's okay. Maybe we should talk about it sometime. You're like, oh yeah, let's do it. So here we are. It's a couple years later, but we're doing it. So, man, boobs. So. Oh my God, I'm not even drunk and I feel great. This is funny. And the funny thing is no viewers. Come on, man. Really? This is classic Dylan Knows right here. It's gonna play better on a repeat viewing, I suppose. So.
Oh, absolutely. I can't wait. So I get up early in the morning to exercise, and then I throw on the YouTube app on my TV, and this is the first thing I'm putting on in the morning. So just know that I'll be lifting weights and sweating to you shirtless.
So maybe later, if you play nice, maybe I'll go pantsless then too. We'll see. I don't know if I'm gonna have enough to drink yet for that.
That's a promise for the people to stick around, because I think we'll be talking for a little bit tonight. So.
Yeah, I think so. So since I've never done this before, I've discussed movies before, but this is the first time. I guess I just want to try to get all aspects of the story, your favorite moments, favorite characters, what you might not have liked about it, anything else about discussions of certain topics or whatever. Be forewarned, however, that there will be spoilers abounding, because we're going to spoil the shit out. Because you know what? I have no problem with spoiling shit. I do it all the time. MJ Con and I, we always do the Marvel movies. When they come out, we see it. It's usually the Friday before our show, so we watch it in the movie theaters, not together, unfortunately. We really should, but we don't. And we sit there and we spoil the shit out of movies. And those are our longest ones. We do about 2.5 hours of Dylan Knows just talking about movies. So I've done it kind of a little bit, but this is a completely unique experience, because it's not a Marvel movie and it's not MJ. It's Mr. Mike.
Well, you know what? I'm going to try and live up to the precedent that he set. I'm 2 shots in already, so I have a feeling as we ratchet up the quality as we progress, this is going to be an excellent show. A classic, just like the film we're discussing.
Absolutely. And also, to be forewarned, to be fair about this, it is definitely going to be not safe for work. We've been doing this. We're going to be
pretty sure we just did like 4 minutes on Kyle MacLachlan's sweet ass. So
that's
if by this point, yeah, if you're still sitting there with your kids and watching, you're a terrible fucking parent. Please, just turn yourself into DHS.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, it's going to be fun. Yeah, we've been talking about tits and ass and pussies and all kinds of luscious events. Yeah, it's going to be great. All right, so where should we start? Where do you want to start, Mike?
Well, I guess we should probably start before the movie, actually. So, do you remember when it came out? Because I remember all the controversy and all the hype about the movie before it came out.
Yeah, I actually I saw it in the movie theater, actually, because it's one of those NC-17 movies, because it had the names of Joe Haas and Paul Verhoeven in it, because Joe Haas is the writer, Paul Verhoeven is the director, and the two of them had just done Basic Instinct a few years earlier, which was a huge hit. So even though it was NC-17, a lot of movie theaters around here decided they were going to give it a try. Now, there's a movie theater in town near where I grew up called the Senator. It's one of the old style movie theaters that doesn't really exist anymore. It was one giant screen. It had a curtain, that you close and open, and they would play cartoons or other stuff before it. So old-fashioned, old-school type of movie theater. They actually got the movie, and they actually played it. So I wanted to go see it because I had been following the stories about it and the controversies about it. And I also had a real hard-on for Elizabeth Berkley also at the time from Saved by the Bell. I was in college.
Okay, I got to stop you right there because we have to jump into this. This is something I'm glad you touched on it.
Oh, absolutely.
Obviously, all good Americans love Saved by the Bell. So you were definitely a Jessie guy, not a Kelly guy?
I was a Jessie guy mainly because she was tall, just like I was.
Gotcha. See, that makes sense. See, I was always more, don't get me wrong, nothing against Jessie. I'm not saying I wouldn't have, but I definitely gravitated towards Kelly.
Oh, yeah, and don't get me wrong. I mean, all of them were hot. I mean, Tiffany Amber Thiessen as Kelly was hot. Lark Voorhees was smoking also at the time as well.
Now, see, I never got into Lark Voorhees, not because of her, but just because in my mind, and speaking of the characters, not of the actress right
Right.
now,
Hmm.
there was probably some party where she drank a little bit too much and she let Screech, like a pity fuck kind of situation happen. I can't come in there after Screech was there.
Yeah. Okay. That.
Just
Okay. That
ruined.
makes sense.
Yeah, so it's nothing against Lark Voorhees.
No, you froze. Mr. Mike froze. Oh, there we go. Woo. Whew, you froze there for a second. I guess God or whoever likes Lark Voorhees because you froze when you were talking about it.
It's like, you don't talk about Lark that way.
But no, yeah. So I was a Jessie guy. The problem was she really didn't have that spotlight. She had the one spotlight episode that everybody keeps referring to, where she gets high on speed or whatever the fuck that is. I thought it was speed.
I think it's a caffeine. It's a caffeine pill. She takes like one caffeine pill and goes insane. You're right though. It's my favorite episode. Like I'll just randomly. So this is super fucked up. But like in the office I work in, we all love Saved by the Bell. We'll randomly quote things from Saved by the Bell, and just out of nowhere, in the middle of completely, not that any situation relates to that, but just in the worst, most inappropriate situations, we'll just start the "I'm so excited" breakdown with fake tears and everything. Like, I'm so scared, and we'll just start doing that to each other in the middle of the office.
It also was funny. It reminded me a lot of the Michael J. Fox episode of Family Ties, where he was high on dope or whatever the fuck that was. I think it was speed or something, or it could have been caffeine pills again. Also, I don't know, but he was doing the same thing and had sort of a similar breakdown type of thing. It was, but it was just she never really had that spotlight episode after that. Really, I mean, she was more always in the background. She was the smart girl, and smart is sexy. Also, I find smart extraordinarily sexy. A hot smoking bod is great as well, obviously, but smart is really good too. So you had smart. You had tall, and in my eyes, she was fucking hot as hell. Loved her curly long hair. I love that shit. And nice bod, as well, especially for being a high school junior, senior, whatever we were. So it was mostly the tall aspect of it as well is what got me. So absolutely. So, but that was the thing, is that she never really made a presence. It was always about Kelly, because Zach was basically the show was from his point of view. So he would always be, talking about Kelly because, Kelly's Kelly,
I felt like, and I completely agree with you. So that's why I felt when I heard that she was going to star in Showgirls, I was like, you know what? She's trying to win over all the Kelly guys. She's just one-upping her. Like, Kelly got all the female character attention and plot points, like you said in Saved by the Bell. So she's like, hey, I'm going to show you my vagina. Tell me you're a Kelly guy after you walk out of Showgirls.
Exactly. It's a very nice one too. Cleanly shaved also. Mwah, very beautiful. Tits are nice too. My God. I'm more, I find myself more of a tits guy. And her tits are so perfect. I mean, to me, they're the perfect handful, I mean, they're not too, I mean, big ones are nice to look at, but the handful, that's the good aspect of it. And
I'm an ass guy, personally.
Yeah, okay. That's fair. I mean, also,
all right, I'm an everything guy, but I start with ass. Like, ass is the thing that has to first catch my attention, and then I'm an everything guy. Like, it's so close. It's not, but ass does narrowly edge everything out. It's sort of like ass, vagina, tits for me, in that order. But I love them all. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's sort of reversed on that. It's tits, ass, and vagina on that one for me as well. So, and again, I'm trying to remember, because I was more focused on her front. I'm trying to remember if there was any really good shots of her back. There was a couple, I think. There were some good shots of her back, especially a lot of stuff when she was in the thong. Also during the Showgirls show itself, she was wearing the thongs a bunch of times. That the ass cheeks were hanging out there pretty nicely, firm. You know what? A lot of the chicks on there had a lot of a nice ass. Gina Gershon, my God, her ass was phenomenal.
Yeah, I got it. You know what I have to say, and this is going to sound biased because I do know her a little bit. Rena Riffle, who plays the Penny/Hope character, best ass in Showgirls for me. Had the best ass in Showgirls. That was for I think I was 13 when the movie came out. For my 13-year-old already developed sense of just noticing ass first, that's my introduction to Rena Riffle.
Yeah, she had that one nice shot where she's getting dressed in Glenn Plummer's bed, and she's just sitting. You get the ass to it. It was nice, perfectly round. You know, yeah, it was a good ass. I do like that. But again, you're the ass guy. My focus was more on the front aspect of it as well. That was more of where my focus, where I would tend to see now that I'm thinking about it, reflecting back on what I watched yesterday, it was always the front, but the ass occasionally would pop up in my face and be like, oh yeah, this is nice. Speaking of Rena, did you see the sequel she made?
Oh, more than saw it. I wrote one of the blurbs that they used on the website to promote the movie.
Oh wow, that's pretty cool. I didn't know that. Oh.
Yeah, I got at the time that they were making it, I crossed paths with Rena, and we were talking, and she sent me a screener copy of it, of like a rough cut of it, and I wrote a review of it for a website that I was writing for at the time, and they asked me to use a blurb for the website to promote it and everything. So.
Oh, good, excellent. So yeah, so you've seen it, and I've never seen it. Is it on par or different or?
It follows, so it follows sort of the same template of that, but it follows the Hope character in a similar trajectory to the Nomi character. But it does have cameos from much of the supporting cast from SHOWGIRLS, a number of people. It's not just her. There's like 5 or 6 of the supporting cast members who are in the movie. It's pretty cool.
Okay, cool. That's very cool. So let's see. What should we talk about now? So basically, I mean, the start of the film, I guess we start at the beginning. You know, we just do linear and shoot off here and there, whatever we want to do.
Sure.
The start of the film, you know, she's, you know, hitchhiking on her way out, and the Elvis-looking dude Jeff picks her up, and they have that little. he's Mr. Talkative, and she's very close to the vest, which is understandable considering what has happened to her before, which we find out a little bit later. And then eventually they have, you know, start talking, and then they get to Vegas, and everything starts spiraling downhill from that, because, you know, Nomi, being the streetwise woman she's supposed to be, gets totally snookered by Jeff, saying, hey, my uncle works here. Let me go talk to him about getting you a job. You know, why don't you play some craps or the slots while I'm here, and we'll split whatever you win. So she's playing and playing and playing. And it seems like she's playing forever. It seems like she's playing more than for 10 minutes. It seems like she's playing like 2 hours. And then she's like, damn, you know, not even thinking about it. Why hasn't he come back? And then all of a sudden, once she runs out of her money, she's like, oh, shit. And, of course, she runs out, and he's gone. And she has her little freak out. And that's when she meets Molly, who is the nice Molly, played by Gina Rivera, who I realized that everyone nice in the movie, something bad happens to them. And the worst
part, like Marquis de Sade sort of setup, where the good characters, the pure wholesome characters, are punished.
And because you get Gina Rivera, who is the nice girl, even Rena in her Hope character, who is fairly naive, and she sort of gets screwed over by having to be with Glenn Plummer's character of James, who he impregnated, and now he's sort of stuck with her, and he's, you know, calling her bitch and get my shit, and, you know, stuff like that, playing the kind of the racist, typical racist type of black guy you always expect.
You know, you say that, but I can't tell you, and maybe I shouldn't be proud of this, but I am 3 shots in already. I can't tell you how many times I have used dialogue, his character's dialogue, on real people.
I think my favorite would have you use the "you're a pain in my head, my ass, and my dick."
Yes. Yes, I did. The one I'm most ashamed of is "I got towels." But yeah, a lot of them seem to work their way into everyday conversation.
And that's the funny thing also, because, you know, Glenn's character James sort of starts off as one of the good guys. You know, he's trying to make it in Vegas as well, and he's you know, a good dancer himself, trained by Alvin Ailey, New York City, stuff like that. And he is. He's a pretty good dancer when we see him dancing in the movie as well. And to me, when I was watching it again, when I rewatched it last night, I began to, you know, I guess now that I'm older, things are starting to, and I wasn't so, since I'd seen it before, I wasn't quite as entranced as I usually am with Elizabeth luscious tits and beautiful vagina and ass. I started noticing things about the characters, and in pretty much the beginning until him and Nomi have that breakup where Nomi sees him with Hope, he seems to be like trying to play the guardian angel to Nomi. So he's kind of starting off as one of the good guys, you know, trying to get her to get away from the strip club and get away from the showgirl life and come and dance because you've got, you know, great talent, but you don't have great talent. You know, it's one of those things that you suck ass, but you're also pretty good. You know.
I believe, and it might not be an exact quote, but what he says is something like, "She has a lot to learn. Dancing ain't fucking."
Absolutely, yeah. So
I've used that too.
You've used that one also. It can be used for a lot of different, you know, situations. Absolutely. I think
my boss just told me to get out of his office.
I think I'm going to use the "you're a pain in my head, my ass, and my dick" sometime also. How to figure out the perfect time for it. Maybe Thanksgiving or something like that. I don't know.
I was going to say, it's definitely got to be something with the whole family gathered around. Maybe that's like a toast at the holidays.
You're all, yeah. It's like, happy Thanksgiving. You're all pain in my head, my ass, and my dick. Yeah. But he just seems like he's trying to protect her and stuff like that. And, you know, the scene where he's watching her give the lap dance to Kyle MacLachlan and then, you know, trying to, you know, just get her away from the sordid life because she knows what it's like. And then all of a sudden the shit hits the fan and now he's stuck having to become a cashier in a grocery store instead of dancing because he's got to be a dad to someone that, let's face it, he doesn't really love. You know, we know that he doesn't. And just because he fucked her and got her pregnant, you know. Take that, Planned Parenthood. Shutting down Planned Parenthood. No birth control for anybody. That's the shit's going to happen from now on.
We're all going to have stripper babies. Thanks, America.
Stripper Baby. That's a great band name. It might have been used before. I don't know, but I think it's a good band name.
Yeah, it's almost too good. Somebody might have used
that. Excuse me. So yeah. So just whenever someone nice comes along, something bad happens, and you made a good point about it being like that. And I guess that's the point of the movie. I mean, you know, everyone basically is bad with the exception of a few odds and ends here and there, and then the bad shit happens to them, and the good stuff happens to the bad people, but then some bad shit happens to them, but not quite as bad as it does to the good people, you know. So, and that sort of leads me to something else. When she's working at the Cheetah now, where she's so after she meets up with Molly, Molly gets the whole story. Molly's the kind person. She's going to take her in. You know, all of her belongings have been stolen by Jeff, and now, you know, it's like 6 weeks later. She's got a job at the Cheetah. She's living in the trailer with Molly, and she's found a true friend. She started getting ensconced in the Vegas lifestyle now, and
fighting over chips.
Yeah, exactly. They're probably. I know that she isn't doing drugs quite at that time, but there's probably a little marijuana involved in there, maybe a little bit. Not the harder stuff.
Dylan, you've never tried this marijuana, have you?
I have not tried the marijuana. No, I've been in a room where some people have before, but but I hear the whole cliche thing about the people getting the munchies and shit like that. I'm probably wrong on that aspect, but. But I figured there's probably something there. But then, you know, so she's at the Cheetah, and then we've got Robert Davies' character, who's Al, the guy who runs the strip club. And then you've got Henrietta, the big fat chick who warms up the crowd for the strippers and stuff like that. The loudmouth, abrasive type of person you gotta love. And to me, I find it kind of odd and funny, but I understand why they're doing it, trying to turn them into the parental figures for Nomi. What's your take on that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I love this sort of like fatherly thing that they have, especially when he and Henrietta go and visit her when she's in the actual Vegas show. And it's sort of like a heartwarming moment. And then he says something like, at least you don't have to worry about people coming on you. And like, I just imagine like for a second, it's sort of like this heartwarming moment where you're like, you know, I hope if I have a daughter someday, I'll look out for her like that. And then he says that, and I'm like, I hope if I have a daughter someday, I never ask her about guys coming on her. I hope we're never that close. Like, I know that sounds like a fucked up thing to say, because parents are like, oh, I want my kids to be able to say anything to me. I don't want my kids to ever come up to me and be like, this dude just came on me, right? And then, no, yeah, I don't ever want to be that cool. So it's weird, because it's like, it's heartwarming for a second and then slaps you right out of it.
And I guess that was a point of it also, but I agree totally with what you just said there. A funny anecdote, not about coming on anybody, but when I the funny thing is, and this is where the old, oh, that's so sweet. My girlfriend in college and I blossomed late, as it were. My girlfriend and I in college, we lost our virginity to each other, and she wanted to call her mom the next day and tell her that she had lost her virginity, and I was cum splashed, by that. And at the time, I said, it's okay, you can, because I wanted to get more of it, but it just seemed. And then the reason, the rationale she gave me was she wanted to. It's so terrible when I think back on it. She wanted to make it seem real to her that by telling someone other than her friends that she had sex, to tell her mom, who I guess she had a close relationship with.
I can't. Yeah. I mean, listen, I'm 34. I'm pretty sure my parents don't know whether or not I mean, they know I've had sex, but in terms of our communication, I haven't had sex as far as they're concerned.
Well, unfortunately, I have a couple bits of proof that I've had sex, so supposedly. No, I'm just kidding. They're mine. They are all mine.
Like, until Mari tells me, I don't know anything.
So just, yeah, but that's the thing. That's what makes the movie a classic.
How do you wait a minute though? Did she call her mom?
Yeah, she literally did. I'm not making this shit up. She really did.
Like, hey, you remember Dylan? He fucked me. Like, how do you say that to your parents? You're a dad. Do you want your kids to say that to you? Ever?
I really don't, Mike. I don't. And that's what. But as I said, I was so blah. If I say no, that's ridiculous.
Right.
She's maybe gonna break up with me. I'm never gonna have sex again. To me, it's just like, holy shit! I had this wonderful, awesome experience. I have the opportunity to have it so much more time. But so I just sort of have to go along with it. It's like, okay, you can go ahead, you can. Luckily, she didn't do it when I was in the room. Luckily, she did it, I guess, in her dorm room. But
how fucked up would that have been if her mom was like, "Put him on"? Then, like, you're on the phone with her mom, and she's like, "How's my daughter?"
Yeah, I'm banging her right now. Can I call you, Mom?
Why don't you talk to me softly? It's like a three-way.
Appropriately cherry blast. Anyway, so but yes, it was just a very interesting, dichotomy, as you said too, the whole must be weird, nobody coming. And I think that was the point of it. They were trying to make a ironic statement or a joke or something like that. So, and there's a lot of those, a lot of those lines all over the movie. The most famous one is still, you're a stripper, I'm a dancer. That's the one that I pull out every once in a while. Anyway.
And your kids are just looking at you like, what is wrong with you, Dad?
So we have her. We'll reverse it a little bit. So we have her at the Cheetah, and we get to see some actual, sequences in the movie where we actually get to see stripping. Yay, awesome. Nudity, seductiveness, licking the poles, which to me is kind of disgusting.
Yeah, well, all right. So I'm glad we got to that. What flavor do you think a stripper pole is exactly?
Let's see. God, this is gonna sound awful. Maybe fish flavored. Oh. Well,
Need another shot.
Let's think about this. I mean, the pole itself is used for straddling. So, I mean, there's really not much more you're going to be able to do with it. I mean, it's only chicks doing it. So, I mean, you know, it would be great, you know, if they could slide their tits between it. Because I've only been, to be honest, I've only been to a strip club maybe once, and not even in Vegas. It was downtown Baltimore City for my bachelor party, and it wasn't that impressive. I don't know. I mean, there was a couple girls who I liked watching, but you know, it was just basically just watching, and they were just dancing, and you got to see them naked. It's like, yeah, I've seen, yeah, they're different bits and pieces, but I've seen similar ones. So, but you know,
So
no one ever.
You don't have any like crazy stripper stories?
No, unfortunately, I don't.
I was hoping we could swap stripper stories during this.
Yeah, maybe I'm the wrong person to have on this show. Maybe it's my own show. Maybe I should get somebody else to do it. But no, yeah. Unfortunately, yeah, I've only had the one experience. Well, okay, I had that at my bachelor party. My brother-in-law's bachelor party was before I had sex, and they got a stripper for him. And that was my
Wait, before you had sex with who?
My college girlfriend, the one I talked about, who.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant. You're like, it's before my brother-in-law and I had sex. And I'm like, wait, what? Maybe that family scenario does work for you, really. It must be nice not to have guys come on you.
No.
Maybe I sound like the asshole now saying that that's weird.
Nah, it's okay. I got it. No, 94 is when I lost my virginity, and 92 was when my brother-in-law got not 93. I'm sorry. 93. Yes, 93 was when my brother. So it was a year before I actually lost my virginity. I'd had sexual experiences before then, but nothing that was intercourse related. It was more what I call dry humping, you know, where basically there was no penetration, but I got to suck tits and lick pussy a little bit, and I got my dick sucked, you know, that type of thing. But
well, that's what I was just about to ask you. Do you count like blowjobs and hand jobs and stuff like that? Because like when people ask me my number of people that I've been with, it's really low. And then when they're like, all right, well, like, what about blowjobs and stuff like that? And then that number they seem to think is really high. So I guess I have this weird mixture.
No, not at all. I mean, I don't consider, and this, I guess, this all goes back to Bill Clinton if you want to. I don't consider blowjobs. I don't consider blowjobs really being sex, which I think is kind of odd.
See, Trump needs to take note, because that's when America was really great, when blowjobs didn't count.
I mean, I always pictured sex was intercourse. Penetration, regardless of where it is, could be the front, the back. I don't care. Penetration, you had sex. That's that. But if you nut from a blowjob or rubbing up against a chick's pussy who's covered by you know, her bra, not bra, under her panties, whatever. Yeah, it's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? You're some really fucked up shit, I was going to say the fucked up shit tonight. So, but no, I never considered a blowjob being sex. Really, it's a lead up to sex. It's a prelude to sex. To me, sex is always penetration. I know, you know, penis in the mouth could be considered penetration, but not. It's more of a lower aspect of penetration, if you know what I mean. Do you agree?
Yeah. It's like miniature golf versus, you know, real
18
PGA Tour.
18 holes.
I was going to say 18 holes, but then I was like, I should clean it up. After we just said fucking pussy 75 times. Like, oh, I should clean it up.
It's so uplifting that we can just say words like pussy and vagina and coming and penetration on a show. I'm always trying to keep my stuff down a little bit.
This is not the typical DylanKnows experience.
It's not. Cherry Blast. No.
Your next guest is going to come on as soon as they see you with a cherry blast and be like, no. Obviously, that stuff is too strong for you. Back off.
Maybe I should do another, like, Mission Basic Instinct next time. I don't know. No, I'm gonna try to mix it up. But so yeah, I mean, my record is extraordinarily low. It's, as I told you, I blossomed late. I was shy a lot of times, and it's a shame because in retrospect, I knew there were girls in high school who liked me, and maybe I could have done something about that. But
you said it's a shame.
But no, well, here's the thing. No, you see, the thing is, I was obsessed with this one girl for all 4 years of high school, and she really only knew I existed my freshman year. So for 3 years after that, we very rarely interacted, so like that. But I was still almost stalkerish. I wasn't. I was almost.
Like, I wasn't. Sure, I broke into her house. Sure, I snuck up to her room and hid in her closet all night. I didn't come out, though. Not a stalker.
Not a stalker, dude. Not at all. But I mean, so college was a good time. Sophomore year was when I first had, as I said, my no penetration, but some sexual activity there. And then senior year was when the real explosions happened. So where were we?
Pun intended.
Yeah, actually, yeah. Pretty good ones a few times. Whoa. But yeah, so we got on we were talking about stripper poles, and all of a sudden we're going off on this whole other tangent, which is what this show is going to be about, man. We got to get used to it. So what do you think stripper poles taste like?
I don't know, but I do have a weird stripper story if you want to hear it.
Absolutely.
So I have a lot of experience in strip clubs. Not because I went to a lot of strip clubs like for entertainment value, because I was a late blossomer to strip clubs, not to just general vagina, but to strip clubs. I didn't go to my first strip club until I guess I was probably about 20. And it's because we were auditioning strippers for a video.
Okay.
So I went from never having set foot in a strip club to like 3 months after that, I think I'd been in like 50 strip clubs.
Oof,
so
wow.
I became an expert on it really, really quickly. The one thing I never did, though, was get a lap dance. Never got a lap dance. So one day we go into this one strip club. There's nobody performing. The place is tiny. It was like one of those bars that's basically like somebody's basement that they somehow got a liquor license for. So we go in there, and I don't even remember what the place was called, but it was kind of dingy and small. We really weren't into it. We ordered a beer. No one was even performing. They just had like a football game on. So we're like, all right, we're going to finish this beer and get going. 2 women come out and start dancing. I'm not trying to be mean, or they were just very unattractive. Like really, and it was really bizarre. Like they really looked like 2 junkies they had just pulled in off of the street. And it was bad. We're like, all right, we're just going to finish these beers and get out of here as quickly as possible. So I hear my friend say, "Are you ready?" And I say, "Yeah, let's go." And it turns out the deep masculine voice that said, "Are you ready?" was in fact not my friend, but one of the lovely young ladies asking me if I wanted a private dance. And my friend leans in and goes, "What the fuck are you doing? We said we were leaving." So now the bouncer comes over because I'm trying to explain to the stripper that I didn't really want to dance. The bouncer comes over and thinks there's a problem. He starts kind of barking at me. He's like, "You won't even give her $5 for a dance?" I was like, "Wait, what?" He's like, "Yeah, for a private dance." I'm like, "A private dance is $5." And he's like, "Yeah." Now I'd been to like 50 strip clubs at this point. I know that a private room dance is significantly more expensive than $5. So I was like, you know what? If it's that cheap, sure. Here's my $5. They open up what looked like a closet. And inside the closet, and there was flies buzzing around. There was no light. There's flies buzzing around in this tiny little closet of a room with a chair in it. So I'm standing in front of the chair. He's like, "The dance is only 1 song." Closes the door. The music comes on. I'm not even sitting yet. The first thing she does is punch me in the dick. Punches me. I collapse onto the chair. She's completely naked, jumps on top of me, and just and she's not like she's large in every sense. Like she's tall and very broadly built. and just starts repeatedly slamming her body into my chest, knocking the wind out of me. I'm literally gasping for air as this is going on. So I'm in horrible pain, having the wind knocked out of me by this linebacker of a woman tackling me repeatedly. And then 3 minutes later, the door opens. And the guy goes, "You want to go again?" I can't even breathe. I can't talk. So it takes me a few seconds to kind of get my composure. And I was like, "Listen to me. Here's another $5. Everything that happened to me happens to my friend. Everything." So I stand up. I am in so much pain, but I suck it up. I managed to walk out to the bar, and I look him in the eyes, and I'm like, "Listen to me." And this is a childhood friend of mine. I've known this guy since I was like 5 years old. I was like, "Listen to me. That was the single best sexual experience of my entire life." And he's like, "What?" And I was like, "I am serious. It was the best erotic moment of my entire life up until this point." I'd been on tour at this point. We'd just gone to 50 strip clubs. Like, I've seen some shit. That was the best thing ever. He's like, "Are you serious?" He's like looking at her in disbelief and then looking at me. He's like, "Are you serious?" I'm like, "Yeah. I already paid the $5 for you. You have to experience this for yourself." He's like, "All right, man." I was like, "Look, I'm going to finish my beer. I'll wait for you outside." A couple minutes later, he comes out. He's hunched over in pain. He goes, "I don't know what the fuck happened to you, but she punched me in the dick and then just jumped up and down on top of me." I was like, "That's exactly what happened to me. But it wasn't. I was not going to be the only person that happened to."
That's awesome. Wow. Oh, Jesus. Maybe it was a dude.
Could have been. I don't even know.
Oh God, so that's actually a really good story. I mean, the only similar story I ever had was like my first real excited type of strip thing. As I said, my brother-in-law's bachelor party, they got a stripper for him, and she's dancing around doing all this stuff, and she starts, pulling the whipped cream out and whipped cream all over her tits and stuff like that. I get a chance to lick them off her tits. They were nice tits too, so I was able to lick some of that whipped cream off of them. So that was like my first real kind of stripper experience. And then from my
She
bachelor
didn't punch
party,
you in the dick and jump up and down your chest. That was
no. She just sort of came over and stuck her tits in my face. I licked them a little bit, and then she moved on to the next guy. I was like, okay, this is pretty cool. Maybe being punched in the dick might have been more fun. I don't know.
It was not. Take my word for it. And here's what's super fucked up. So because of that, I have abstained from lap dances when I go to strip clubs. I understand that that's probably not what goes down in most cases, but it's pretty much scared me off of it. I've only broken that rule a few times since then. I've probably been to a couple hundred strip clubs because when we're on the road, there's nothing else to do. And
Right.
I've been to so many strip clubs. The few times I've ever gotten a lap dance, they were always terrible. Never had a good lap dance experience. I don't remember what the scenario was because it was like some crazy drug-fueled party. But a guy in a dress gave me a lap dance once, and it was the only good lap dance I ever had. I don't know if it's because getting punched in the dick and jumped up and down on set the bar so low, or he was just amazing, or I was so fucking high. But whatever it was, that was the only good lap dance I've ever had.
Real quick, our friend and one of your co-hosts, Kelly Toole, just tweeted out, "My God, put your damn shirt on." And he says, "At official pagan," so I think he wants you to put your shirt on. So I don't know what he's talking about.
I was gonna say my pants are off, but they're always off. So I have a magnet on my refrigerator that says "Home is where the pants aren't."
Nice. But then then so your experience with lap dancing sort of segues into that lap dance that Nomi gives to Zach, Kyle MacLachlan's character, and that was almost dick punching, but with her vagina. So
yes, I have a lot to say about her vagina, but I'm gonna save it for the pool scene. So at this juncture, though, this is my big question with this lap dance. So I'm assuming a typical lap dance, because again, I've only had a few and they were awful, terrifying experiences. Let's just say an average lap dance is the length of a song. I don't know about you, but I don't think, because obviously the insinuation is that she rides him until he comes in his pants. I couldn't come with 15 strangers watching me and somebody jumping up and down on me for 3 minutes. Like, that's just not going to do it.
Yeah,
The strangers
yeah.
maybe, but the getting it done in 3 minutes is not going to happen for me.
And it's the precursor to the pool scene. But yeah, I agree with that because it just, yeah, I mean, I have trouble going to the bathroom when there's somebody else in the bathroom with me sometimes. So it's just, damn, yeah, that's right. And the fact that, you're getting, as you're saying, you're kind of getting, as I said, you're getting dick punched, but the way she was doing with her vagina, it was just, she's still wearing his pants. So, I mean, you've already got, you're sitting kind of weird. She's crushing it basically because she's not, she's got to weigh about 100 some pounds. So, it's
Right.
it's like a giant 100-pound weight going boom, 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 boom. Yeah. Yeah. I agree with that. I mean, if it was penetration and
Right.
there was nobody else around, then maybe you'd be able to nut.
I don't even really care about the other people at this point, I guess. I don't know about back then, but at this juncture, I don't even think I care about the other people being around. It's more like I'm a friction guy. So like I need that friction. Like I need the feel of a person there. Underwear, pants on top of it, and then somebody just smacking my pants with their vagina for a couple of minutes, that's not gonna do anything.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm not saying no. If anybody's listening to this and they're like, "Oh, I was gonna snark stock vagina punch Mike's pants," I'm not saying no. What I'm saying is I won't come from that. Hi, Mom.
Oh, absolutely. So yeah, it was just one of those, I just can't. Yeah, I agree with that totally. It's just like I don't think I'd be able, even if it was Elizabeth Berkley and her gorgeous breasts and vagina jumping up and down to me. And the same, what I like about also is you're trying to see Kyle's trying to grab her ass and try to grab her tits and shit like that, but he's not allowed to. So he's like sort of like like that, and that would also be kind of disturbing because I'd like to, as you said, I kind of like to have the feel of something on it as well. So absolutely.
Yeah, I guess tactile person when it comes to anything sex related. So like, not touching them not really touching me. I'm sure my pants had a good time, but not
Not
me
you.
so much.
Absolutely not you. So, and that's the thing also. That's the only time we see the lap dance because I mean it's not called lap dance; it's called showgirls. So I guess we only get that one shot, and that was just basically, I guess, to show the machinations that Gina Gershon's character is trying to do. Now we should talk about Gina a little bit. So you say you know her a little bit?
No, Rena.
Oh, Rena. I'm sorry, Rena, Gina, Fina. Balbina, I don't know, same thing. But no, yeah, Gina Gershon was, I think after this movie, she went into Bound. Have you seen Bound by the Wachowski brothers?
Yes, of course.
Yes, that's an amazing movie as well.
Really
I love that
is,
as well.
yeah.
So those two movies alone made Gina Gershon, up there in the spank bank memory zone, whatever you want to call it, up there. She's got those lips. She's got the lips, and she's a bit more petite than maybe I'm used to because, as I said, I'm tall. Elizabeth's tall, so that's where the attraction lies. But she's still though. Breaking news from Kelly Toole: Squat Cobbler to be renamed Friction Man and Kel. Yes.
See, history is being made here, kids.
But she's got a lot more. Her character of Crystal Connors has got a lot more going on, I think, than I think it's spelled out that she's got a lot more going on. So, but she's basically everything that she's talking about to Nomi and stuff like that leads into something else for Nomi to do, which takes her on the same path that Crystal took. Basically, Crystal wants Nomi to become her, and that's where the thing lies between the two of them, where
Yeah, it's a weird dichotomy that they have where it's on one hand she is almost grooming her, but at the same time is from the start jealous and protective of her place, knowing that Nomi is coming for that.
and she understands that also. So I think that's why she's being protective about it and why she's jumping to it and being kind of this mean thing. But to me, I think what would have made this film even better would be a nice little lesbian scene between the two of them, because they had those sparks flying every once in a while, and that lip and the tongue kissing at the very end. Oh man, just think. Think a Bound scene with
what could have been Showgirls 3, Rena.
So just to get that in there, it would just that would have made that film just that much better. But just yeah, that relationship thing they have, and how they seem to be very similar. You know, when they have that that dinner at Spago, and she's talking about eating puppy chow or doggy chow or whatever it is, and Liz Berg's like, yeah, I did that too, and yeah, she probably did.
Dog food's fucking terrible, by the way. That's another. I'm glad you brought that up because I forgot that. They make it sound like dog food tastes good. It does not. I don't know if you've ever tried dog food, Dylan.
I have never tried dog food.
It's fucking atrocious. It was really bad. That was another one of those things where, like, allegedly, I'm not even gonna say alleged. Somebody drugged me. It was me, but someone drugged me, and somehow me and my other friends who were also roofied by themselves, we all thought it was a good idea at one point to try dog food that was there, and it's awful. I can just talking about it gives me like an after. This is like 20 years ago, and I can still taste it just talking about how fucking terrible it was. So when that came on, I was like, "You lying bitch! Dog food is not good."
Real quick, I'm freaking out, Scott Brave Boy, with my nipples. They keep popping into frame. So this is for you, T. Scott. Woo!
Maybe you should get electrical tape and put like X's over them.
That I was thinking of doing that. I almost said I need to go to get some sort of pasties or something, or I should have painted my nipples like Nomi does at the end when she beats the shit out of Andrew Carver. So
that would have been amazing.
But I was like, I don't know, that might not go over too well. Not that this is going over too well anyway, but fuck you guys, I don't care. So, but I mean, but it was just great, you know, and that leads to, we're going to talk a little about the whole premise of the film Showgirls. You know, you actually, when I went back and was watching it again, I was like almost shell shocked because it's on I had it on Blu-ray. It was the first time I'd seen it on Blu-ray, and how clear and crystal clear it was, and how the scenes of the actual showgirl dances, you know, the sequences where they're doing their performance like that, how amazingly elaborate and insane they are with the costumes and the special effects and shit like that. And I've never been to Vegas. I'm sure you probably have a bunch of times.
Yes. Yeah. I spent a whole summer in Vegas before. And I have seen Vegas Showgirls. And yeah, it's not like that. That is not an accurate depiction of
okay.
Even like, so I absolutely, like, more so than strippers, like I absolutely love burlesque dancers. And I would say on average I go to like 20 or 30 burlesque performances a year. I have a number of friends who are burlesque dancers or put on the shows and stuff like that. And so I'm really like heavily entrenched in that whole world. And even that, which is in itself, like by its very nature, a much more elaborate and theatrical production, is still not at the level that you see in the movie Showgirls. And that's what's kind of amazing about this movie, is that everything is blown out of proportion to like this fantasy alternate reality. Like when Nomi, just to jump ahead really quick, but like when Nomi does claw her way to the top, you have like, there's reporters at her opening night, international press at that, because there's different accents and different networks and stuff like that. I don't know about you, but like we live in major cities. I've never turned on the local news and they were like interviewing a stripper. That was never a thing.
No, he's absolutely right. I mean, that's, and I like that, how it's that alternate fantasy reality, because everything just seems so, I guess it is fantastic, I guess is the proper term for it, in Showgirls, the way things are. I was unaware that the showgirl dancers were, that wasn't, because I figured that would be the type of thing that Vegas would do, and be these huge elaborate.
I mean, it's more elaborate than like if you go to a strip club, yeah, but not, at least in my
but not anywhere near
experience,
expensive.
yeah, it was nothing like what you see in that movie.
Explosions and motorcycles coming on the stage.
Multi-million-dollar productions. Now, Vegas shows, I think now, because you see like bands doing residencies and things like that, I feel like the Vegas shows now are probably closer to that, because you see these bigger budget productions. But back then, and it was around that time, because I think the first time I went out to Vegas, I was 12. So it was around, and Showgirls came out when I was like 13. So it was around that time that I had already seen some of the stuff. So I was like, none of this is real. Even watching it then. Like the reality of like the women in Vegas was like, I remember stepping off the plane and a prostitute giving me her card. And I was like, I'm 12. And she's like, I don't give a fuck.
I had a friend of mine who I worked with. He was, I guess, in his early 20s, and he went out to Vegas with some buddies of his. And when he came back, he said, "Look what I got!" And he plopped down all these cards of, you know, prostitutes and call girls and whatever you want to call. And there were some hot ones on there. I was like, damn, you should have called this one.
No,
but in the end,
some were like really attractive. Like, I don't know. Like, that's my main takeaway from like what's great about Vegas. If you do partake in prostitution, and I'm not trying to judge
advocating it,
like that. Yeah, I'm not advocating or judging. Like, it's a thing. I don't think there's anything wrong with it if two adults come to some sort of agreement and they're going to do stuff for each other. As long as they're not hurting themselves or anybody else, I don't really care what anyone does. So, you know, whatever you want to do. But I will say, like, the prostitutes around here, and maybe it's just where I live, are pretty terrible looking. I don't think there was a single prostitute that looked anywhere near as bad. Like, even like in the bad parts of Vegas, like when you get out around like the trailer parks on like the outskirts and the desert and shit like that, like even the hookers that you run into there, like they're like junkie hookers and stuff like that, way better than anything we have around here. Like, they're, the worst for them is like better than our A-list here.
Oh no, yeah, it's the same in Baltimore also. So I agree with that. Not that I've ever been to a prostitute, but I've seen.
He's like, I mean, I don't know.
I don't know for sure. Tell him.
I'm checking Twitter right now, and on Twitter they're saying it's just as bad here.
So yeah,
I remember going to Baltimore, just as a little tangent since we've been on 100 of them already. I remember going to Baltimore with a few lady friends of mine, and someone pulling me to the side and asking me if I was their pimp. And I'm such an awful person that the first thing that popped in my head was like, I should ask them like how, like I'm not, but like maybe I should ask how much they would pay. Like, obviously then I'm going to be indignant and be like, fuck you. Those are fine, upstanding young ladies. But for a second I was just like, well, how much are you offering?
We should have done that at Snark Stock. Oh my god. Why didn't you bring it up then, Mike? Come on, man.
Sorry. I wasn't thinking of it. Prostitution didn't come up at Snark Stock.
We should maybe work on that next time.
Well, on the Vegas. Purple Panda Penis bus, who knows?
We'll bust to Vegas and we'll hang out with some prostitutes in Vegas. There we go. Snark Stock Vegas. Prostitute time, baby.
The Snark Stock Ranch.
Our friend Kelly Toole was like, this is the first show ever where I hope official Pagan talks a lot more than does. And then T Scott Brave Boy goes, nobody can out-talk Dylan. So yes, I win. I'm still the best when I do. T Scott Brave Boy and Kelly Toole, you're a pain in my head, pain in my ass, pain in my dick. Does that work?
Thank you. See? Everything in Showgirls is applicable to your real life.
Oh geez. So we might as well let's talk about since all right, well, it's right at 10 o'clock. You know, this is the time where we can really let loose.
I was gonna say, this is when it's gonna get not safe for work, guys.
Definitely. Let's talk about that pool scene.
Oh, thank God.
I'll let you because you've got something on your mind, and apparently this body is just freaking everybody else out. So you go ahead and do your thing there, Mike.
So we've already discussed Kyle MacLachlan's perfect, beautiful ass as he walks into the pool. And I really have no problem with like the neon lights, palm trees, and shit around the pool. I would do that because I decorate like a cocaine dealer from the 80s. So I would probably do that. It's once they get into the pool and they actually start fucking that I think everybody understands that biologically whatever they're doing is not human sex because her vagina is somewhere around the center of his chest and she's flopping up and down like some strange fish creature or appendage of his that has lost control, like it's been possessed in Evil Dead or something like that. So I have two theories about the scene because everybody gets mad at this scene, and I've heard this discussed at such great length at the biological implausibility of this. So I have two theories. Either Kyle MacLachlan's penis comes out of his chest. He has sort of an opening like Iron Man does, like he's like the Tony Stark of fucking, and like his dick just comes out of the center of his chest, and that's why she was up there. And obviously the sheer power of this is what caused her to vibrate up and down in the water so difficultly. My other theory is that it's all about Jesse's vag. I imagine that her vagina, and this is the one that I lean towards, her vagina is like the mouth of the xenomorphs in Alien, where it kind of opens and then a smaller one shoots out and grabs. So that would explain the seeming relative distance problems. Because even if Kyle MacLachlan had like a 2-foot long dick, which he might, Kyle MacLachlan's awesome. Kyle MacLachlan says he has a 2-foot long dick. Don't you fucking question him. He has a 2-foot long dick. It still couldn't bend the way that it would need to work its way inside of her. So I think he has a normal, probably very large dick because it's Kyle MacLachlan. But it's her alien xenomorph mouth vagina that shoots out, so she doesn't need to be that close to it. So I was wondering what your theories are, Dylan.
Sounds plausible. I like that. I mean, that's...
Someone tweet her honest, right now and ask her if she has a xenomorph vagina.
To be honest, that's probably the only thing that makes a lot of sense because, yeah, I mean, it's supposed to be erotic and uplifting, and there is a little something about the breast flopping up and down because, you know, as I said before, I'm a breast guy, and I like the wet and the water all over. But yeah, I mean, it's absolutely, to me, would seem absolutely painful. First of all, even if you were doing it correctly, you know, in the correct areas, the flopping up and down to me would seem like she's trying to break your dick in half, and that would fucking hurt like shit, you know. And then, you know, but it was supposed to be kind of an erotically charged, let's kind of do like a porn style type of sex move. But let's be honest, porns are more realistic than this movie is.
Well, and again, it just goes to like the crazy like fantasy world that this sort of takes place in that isn't actual real life. But like, so have you ever fucked in a pool?
I never have. It's always been on my bucket list. So I came close. I came close to it in a hot tub, but never got around to it.
Okay, actual pool sex isn't that great. Everything leading up to it is awesome because it's like floating and wet and everything, and it's awesome. Like everything that leads up to the actual sex gets weird because you don't really like. You need, or at least I guess I do. Like I need balance to really do what I want to do, and you don't have that floating in a pool. Like I said, I'm a friction guy, so I really like getting physical and getting. So it's awesome right up until actual penetration, and then it kind of loses steam for me really quick because I'm a friction guy.
Now let me ask you something. I've seen on a porn before a woman giving a blowjob underwater in a pool. Is that even possible? I mean, I guess it is, but
I guess it is. I don't know if it would be enjoyable for either one of them.
I mean, she's not drown for God's sakes, unless she makes such a good seal, you know. But you're not breathing in. You're breathing in dick. You're not breathing in oxygen, you know. And then what if he comes and you swallow? You know, you're gonna drown that way too.
You're breathing in dick might be the best thing anybody's said to me in a while. Everybody, please tweet that to somebody you love. Breathing in dick.
I think, unfortunately, Kelly's had enough of this great bod because we have no viewers now. So when you see this on replay, definitely do what Mike says.
Yeah, tweet somebody who's special to you. You're breathing in dick. So I do have a special affinity though. Still, even though I don't enjoy pool sex, I have this weird erotic affinity, I guess, for pools because a lot of my early sexual experimentation that didn't include penetration happened in pools. Because that was like the only time when we were kids that you kind of like got away from parents. Like, you know, you were at a party with a bunch of other kids and stuff like that. They'd be like, "Oh, go in the pool," and the parents just go inside and do whatever. Like that was your chance to kind of like be out of the way, and nobody could really see what was happening underwater. Especially as it got darker out, nobody really knew what was going on. So a lot of my early like sexual experimentation definitely happened in pools, which made it more of a letdown when I tried to actually fuck in a pool, and I was like, "This doesn't." Like I felt like there was years of build up towards that, and it never would have lived up to the hype, I guess. And then when I saw that, I had already tried to fuck in a pool at that point, and when I saw that, I was just no, it's not how that works. And the first thing even back then that popped in my mind was that she has a xenomorph vagina. It shoots out.
No, I mean I agree also because there's just something about skinny dipping, as it were. I hate the name skinny dipping, but where you're in the pool and you know what, you're just like nobody around. You just whip off your swim trunks and hey, you're running around you're swimming around buck naked. I've done it in a pool that way in a pool before. I've done it in the ocean before. I mean, I was one of those times where even with all the people around, you know, the ocean is filled with fish shit and stuff like that, so it's like green and you can't really see more than maybe an inch into the water.
Right.
So you
don't try and fuck in the ocean. In case you ever have.
Definitely, yeah, don't.
Sand is not an aphrodisiac, let me tell you.
I went off on that fucking Pina Colada song. I went off on it before on an episode we did together a few years ago, but I did it again last year because it's just I keep listening to the song and I went off on a tangent about they're talking about making love on the dunes at midnight. It's like, no, you're fucking way. You're not going to have sex on the dunes, man. It's fucking sand that's going to get everywhere. You know, it's not soft. It's hard. And there's like cracks and shit.
Yeah, there's fucking animals and shit too.
And then even if I know it says he said at midnight, but say you're in like a private area and you say, hey, let's go fuck on the beach, and it's like the middle of the day, the fucking sun has burned that sand to be like 150 degrees, so you're gonna burn your ass anyway. Doing that. But yeah, that's the biggest thing is like, no, fucking on sand is not fun, not at all. No. And fucking in the ocean is not fun either. I mean, I've never done it.
I learned really quickly that wasn't a good idea. Almost like right away. The sand gets in places and you're just like, no, fuck this. What was I ever
Watch out
thinking?
for the seaweed too, man.
Get the fuck away from me.
What about the jellyfish, man?
Yeah,
you never know.
How do you explain to somebody if you have a jellyfish staying on your dick? And wait, I've never been stung by a jellyfish. Aren't you supposed to have someone pee on you? Is that a thing, or is that just an excuse for that guy to try and pee on me?
Yeah, I guess it works. I've been stung before, but no one's ever peed on me. So,
Dylan, I promise, if we're together and you get stung by a jellyfish, I'll pee on you.
Sweet. That'd be awesome. It'd be just as cool if Kelly Toole would do that also.
Kelly Toole and I were both.
So I can say it. But yeah, so the one thing I liked about the pool scene, obviously, again, I keep referring to myself as the tit guy, is when he's pouring the champagne all over her body, starts sucking the champagne all the tits. I like that kind of shit. I like champagne on the body, or whipped cream, or chocolate syrup, or honey, or whatever you want to do like that. That's a turn on for me. Unfortunately, I've never found anybody who wants to do it. So it's just gonna have to be something I have to think about in the spank bank again. So
you never got too deeply into any kind of like food play?
No, never have. Again, on the bucket list too, but I'm getting older, so who knows?
Baby carrots.
Wait, what? In the ass or something? What?
I'm not going to tell the story, but I'm going to say that I never liked baby carrots, and then we were somewhere, and somebody got up on a table, and stuff happened with baby carrots. It changed my opinion of baby carrots.
Okay, that's for another story, another time.
That'll be for a Valentine's Day episode or something. We really want to get into the romance of it.
Oh, phenomenal. Okay. So let's see now. With a movie like Showgirls, there's a startling lack of sex, to be honest. You know, we have the sex scene in the pool and the lap dance, which we've sort of gone over the fact that it's not really sex because it's not really penetration. And there's really no blowjob sequence. I mean, there's the scene where you're thinking that, you know, when Nomi's going underwater in the pool, that she's going to go down on him under the water, but then she ends up swimming away to the little waterfall thing that's coming down over there, and that's where they start having the acrobatic sex. So you're like, okay, so there's not even that really. And then you think in a movie like Showgirls, there might be a bit more sex, but I guess not. But I mean, the nudity makes up for it. Am I right?
Yeah, there's a strong amount of nudity, especially for an American movie. And I know that sounds weird because, like, if you watch a lot of foreign films, especially films from around that time, like I remember watching, like, not even any one specific movie, but a number of films where the sex scene would be really short if you see it at all, but then the characters would just kind of like stand around naked and go through pages of dialogue naked. So you would that level of nudity I was not used to seeing in an American film at that point.
Now, you said it came out when you were about 13. Were you able to actually go in and see it in the movie theater, or did that come
Did not
later
see it in
on
the movie theater. It was when it came out on video.
Okay. So, I mean, that was like the one thing I wanted to see in the movie theater because I'd heard so much about it, seen a lot of the pictures, heard the story, and of course my jonesing for Elizabeth Berkley, of course, to see her completely naked and thrashing around in a pool, or pussy, or vagina, I should say, which is the proper word to say.
After we've said pussy 75 times already, I'm gonna say it.
But you know, it's a shame that the American people are this kind of, we still have this Plymouth Rock style of belief towards sex and nudity, which is kind of a shame. I mean, I guess that's, if we didn't have that, the porn industry might not be where it is now, you know, and they're fairly successful when it comes to be like that, which means there's obviously groups of people out there who want to see that stuff, but there's just, in mainstream movies, I guess you've got to deal with, you know, the fact that it's out there in the open, whereas with porn, you can either look on your phone, go to a video store if they still have those around, grab a video and do it in your own home. You're not actually, and then there are those chances where you have the peep show theaters. I don't know if they even have those anymore. Do they even have those anymore? I mean,
maybe somewhere. I'm sure there's something, but people would just go like hipsters being ironic now or something.
I mean, we have a place down in Baltimore, and you might have heard of it. It's called The Block, which is basically at the time was just nothing but sex stuff, sex stores, sex peep shows, sex cinemas.
Why was this not on the itinerary for Snack Talk?
Because they've sort of cleaned up downtown, so it hasn't really been. It's not as impressive, though. The Hustler Club is still there, from what I heard. Maybe that's what we should have done. That'd been more fun. Instead of going to Fellas Porn on the Ghost Walk, we should have gone down the block. I don't know how that would be, but just to
take notes, planning committee.
There you go. See Myrna at a strip club. It'd be really funny.
That actually would be funny. We should do this. And a strip club in Texas, no less.
Oh yeah. Oh, that would be crazy if we do that. So let me see. Anything else we need to chit chat about? Anything else you like? Okay, let's start hitting. You know, who's your favorite character?
So I actually even, and this is gonna sound biased because I know Rena a little bit, but the Hope character always stuck out to me because I think she's in some of the funniest scenes in the movie, or some of the most memorable scenes in the movie. When her first day at the Cheetah Club, when they're walking her through and like showing her the ropes and stuff like that, that is some of the best dialogue in the entire movie. And he's like, you know, if they come, it's okay. If they pull it out and come all over you, you call a bouncer. But if he gives you a good tip, it's okay. Or something along those lines. And I just remember like,
my name's not Hope. Well, no one wants to fuck up whatever her name.
Yeah.
They want to fuck a Hope.
Yeah, you keep calling her Hope, and she's like, the only thing is, my name's Penny. He's like, nobody wants to fuck a Penny, dum dum. And then he calls her dum dum. Like that's like everything in those sequences with her is just great. So she was already my favorite character, and then you know when I did cross paths with Rena and found out about the sequel and how it was gonna focus on her character and everything, got me. I was really excited about that. Nothing against Elizabeth Berkley and her and the Naomi character or anything like that. I was perfectly fine with a Showgirls 2 being about Hope.
Yeah, I mean, they were trying to hope. They were hoping against hope, to coin a phrase, hoping against hope that it would generate a sequel, that enough people. They were projecting it to make a lot of money because Basic Instinct made a shit ton of money, and this was going to the next level above.
And that's really what I love about this movie is because it is sort of like just the production itself is almost like this crazy Vegas gamble. Like they were like, okay, we spent X amount of money on Basic Instinct and it made this much money. So if we spend 20 times more on this, we'll make 20 times more. Like it was just this insane thing where you're just like, no, that's not how life works. Like it's amazing that this movie got made. Like it's like it's like a late night cable like Skinemax movie, except that it cost like $50 million to make it.
That's actually a really good description of it.
Yeah, and like I always like it's funny because like people always ask me like whenever I do interviews about like the film stuff that we work on, people will be like, "Oh, don't you ever wish you get to work on like a big budget Hollywood movie?" No, because I don't know how to make that movie. Like I don't know how that works. Like they would give me $50 million and I make the same fucking movie that we make now. Like, and that in my mind, like that's what happened. Like they went to these people and were just like, here's $50 million, or I think it was 45 million. I was looking up for this. Like here's $45 million, and they made a Cinemax movie for $45 million. like that's amazing.
And it basically destroyed MGM for the most part, you know.
Oh, yeah. Well, and that's the other thing too. Like, it's so I'm sure you're familiar with Caligula.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So like the huge like Caligula and Showgirls have a lot in common in the sense that they were initial failures not because people didn't go and see them, but because they spent such an exorbitant amount of money making it. Like more money, like $45 million at that time was like more money than what a blockbuster movie made at that time. Like they spent more money. Like if it made $45 million, that would have been amazing. It would have been like one of the top grossing movies of the year. That's what they spent. Like they spent more money than it could possibly make. Like that's like the mentality of it. And it's sort of like when Atari made more copies of the ET cartridge for the game than there was Atari systems. Like how was that ever going to work? Like somebody did some huge line off of a desk and they were like, what if everybody bought 4 of them? We make so much money. And that's the same mentality with this. Like MGM like spending that much money on this is insane. And then like Paul Verhoeven's like crazy vision of this. I don't know if you ever seen interviews with him or read any of his essays about this movie, but in his mind, what he was setting out to do was to remake the classic MGM musicals, and specifically he was focused on Annie. And if you go back and rewatch it, thinking that there is actually that makes it sounds crazy when somebody first says that to you, but if you go back and rewatch it now, knowing that, it actually makes a lot of sense. And they directly reference Annie a few times in the movie.
Oh yeah, no, it actually now I think about it, yeah, I think you're absolutely right, and it is, and the fact that we have so many of these set pieces of these giant, show-stopping numbers and stuff like that,
right,
which was something similar they did to the MGM, because in the end, it moved the story along a little bit, but not in a very considerable way. Yeah, there's a few times where it led to Nomi taking over for Gina Gershon after she pushes her down the stairs. The one with the black chick who breaks her knee and can't be her understudy. That at least of that. But then Nomi's first day, you can understand. In the framework of the film, you can understand maybe why they're doing it, but at the same time, you're like, this is kind of a waste of money. that's where the $45 million is going to, is these fucking shows numbers.
Well, and that's the thing too. Like, can you imagine, Larry? Say you're an executive at MGM. You have this long, rich history of these classic films, and specifically these musicals. And I walk in there, and I'm just like, and forget about even taking into account. Let's just say I just made a bunch of highly successful movies: RoboCop, Basic Instinct, Joe Esterhaus on his own had Music Box, and a few other like huge fucking movies. And then we come in there and we're just like, listen, we want to take your classic musicals and take that framework and specifically focus on Annie, to take that boilerplate that you established of these beautiful, classic, luscious Hollywood movies and reimagine them for a modern day and show a lot of tits and pussy in it. Like at what point were they just like, yeah, this all sounds great? Like, did you just say pussy? like when?
Well, and then NC-17 just came out. Why not?
Why did no one go like, wait, what? When they got to that part, like when he's like, all right, do you remember in Annie where the guy gets the lap dance until he comes in his pants? Like, what? Why was nobody there, like, looking through their notes and just being like, I wasn't here when we made Annie, but I've seen it. Unless there's some director's cut that you have that I'm not aware of, that wasn't in there. And that's what's amazing about Showgirls. And there's a few movies like this where it's just like, how the fuck did this get made? Like, what was the pitch meeting like this for? Like, and that's bringing it back to Caligula, like, Showgirls actually, contrary to like popular belief, like everyone sees Showgirls as this enormous failure when it came out. It actually made a huge, what at the time was a huge box office turnout, especially for an NC-17 movie. In fact, it is still the highest grossing NC-17 movie ever put out. It broke all kinds of box office records, a number of which it still holds, not just the NC-17 one. It did great business. It was a failure because they spent more money than it could possibly make. And it's just like Caligula, like Bob Guccione when he was making that, like put every dime he had into it. Like, where the fuck, how did he think he was going to make it back? And like, just like Caligula though, like Caligula eventually became an extremely profitable film over the course of years. And Showgirls in particular, when that came out on video, the video rentals, when video stores still existed, and I looked it up again to double check, like the initial video rentals brought in $100 million. So I mean, Showgirls has actually gone on to become one of the highest grossing films MGM ever did. So it went from basically almost bankrupting them to becoming one of their top grossing films. But it took forever to get there because they spent so much fucking money.
And I guess, the reason why maybe it did so well in the video market was a similar thing we're talking about with the porn movies. With porn movies, it's not as insane as the porn movies are, which shows actual penetration and stuff like that and actual cum everywhere, but it's still a sexually charged film with tits and ass and pussy and vagina. And it's a lot easier to watch it in the privacy of your own home with a loved one, where you can interact the pool scene with the xenomorph pussy. Bring it back to what we were discussing earlier.
Somebody start a band right now called Xenomorph Pussy, please.
So I think it's hard for me really to pick out a favorite character, but to be honest, I kind of like Gina Gershon's character, just because she is, to me, she's the manipulative woman who basically, let's face it, she comes out on top, regardless of the fact that she's broken all these bones and all this stuff after she falls down the steps. But she gets a nice settlement from, as she says, I get a very nice settlement, from my lawyers about that. So she ends up on top anyway because, A, she gets brought in to do one of these Vegas-style shows. It becomes a huge hit. She makes a ton of money. She fucks Kyle MacLachlan's awesome ass a couple times before he ends up messing around with Elizabeth Berkley.
I like that fucking Kyle MacLachlan is like one of the win column things for us. They're like, she got to fuck Cooper.
Excellent.
Forget about the money.
Yeah, absolutely. And then she you know, gets a chance to rest after her, you know, yeah, she broke a bunch of bones, but fuck, she's in one of the greatest hospitals, getting the best health care she can possibly get, and she gets a nice settlement, and she gets to or a tongue kiss Elizabeth Berkley at the end. So in the end, it all works out, and so she has her cocaine, and she doesn't get busted for that. She gets to watch Kyle MacLachlan come and Elizabeth Berkley grind on him. She gets to, as I said a couple times, she gets to rip Elizabeth Berkley's clothes off. You know, she gets everything. But that's why, you know, that's why she's so great in the film, is because she basically wins everything. You know. And yeah, it would have been interesting to see if, let's just say, if Showgirls was a success at the time. Say it made $100 million or whatever it's in final runs or whatever before it went to video, and they decide, hey, we should greenlight a sequel. You know, would we end up having her trying to get into being a Hollywood star by going through pornography? Would that be, because they're going to Los Angeles? That's the next possible destination you can go from Vegas, where it's just as fucked up as it is in Vegas, is in Los Angeles.
Yeah, I mean, that would kind of have to be the trajectory. Like, she would get there, she would get some sort of porn work, and then, you know, like, fuck some guy who works for a Hollywood studio. Like, you could follow the same formula, and just with movies, starting off in porn, and then in the end, they'll be like, hey, we're greenlighting a $50 million Cinemax movie in this fantasy world. That'll never happen in this fictional world.
And that's the other thing that I wanted to, I found also that, and this was because it was supposed to be in the movie, it's one of the character arcs, is she, whenever someone calls her a whore, it takes her on her. It's like calling someone yellow, like calling Marty McFly yellow in the Back to the Future movies. It gives her the calling her a whore gets her to, no matter how happy or jolly she's being or thinks everything's going well, she immediately reverts to a defensive stance. And I find it interesting as well, because it leads back to her history of being, you know, a prostitute, and her parents, you know, dying and being abusive and stuff like that. So I just found that an interesting side note anyway, trying to lengthen the show a little bit. Because I think
you're definitely right. Like, it's so you had the Blu-ray. Did you listen to the commentary that's on the Blu-ray?
I have not, but I'm dying. I want to listen to I definitely want to hear it. I want to watch it again sometime and listen. Now that I have the Annie thing in my head now, I'm gonna look at it that way and then listen to the commentary too. Have you heard the commentary? Or
the commentary is excellent. It's a comedian who was doing a one-man performance that was entirely based around Showgirls at one point, and he does the commentary for it. And one of the things that he points out is, like, Elizabeth Berkley's character just goes from, like, staring to freaking out repeatedly in this movie. And, like, that's, he brings up a lot of really good points. And, like, one of the things we hit in the beginning, you know, he's like, stop the movie when you're like 5 minutes into it. He's like, okay, we're, you know, 5 minutes and 30 seconds or whatever into this movie, and this is what's happened so far. This woman has uprooted her life, traveled to another city, met up with this stranger, like, made this crazy deal with him. She wins and loses a fortune, because initially when she starts gambling, she wins a bunch of money. Wins and loses a fortune, has everything she owns stolen from her, gets into a big fist fight, almost gets hit by a car, meets her lifelong best friend, and moves in with her in 5 minutes in the movie. Like, that's how crazy this movie is. Like, that's 3 movies in and of itself, and that's the first 5 minutes of this fucking movie. That's how great Showgirls is.
And then you add in the sequence where all of a sudden, as I mentioned earlier, Glenn Plummer's James character comes in as this guardian angel, pops up everywhere around her, and they always have this. It's the same thing. He comes in, they seem to be attracted to each other, and then he says something stupid, and she gets all defensive and kicks his ass, or like she literally she dick punches him. Actually, dick kicks him, and this one doesn't get dick punched like you did, but she dick kicks him in the one scene. I think at the dance club, and starts, I guess, that the fight at the one club, I think. So That's another thing. So you have this other guy coming in trying to get her there, and then you've got the other story with the porn, the porn, the cheetah, the strip club, and then the showgirl thing. So yeah, it's actually, if you want to expand it past the 5-minute mark, say the 15-minute mark, you get all this other shit thrown in there, because literally after the 6 weeks later sequence, 5 minutes in, they go to the showgirls thing, and that's where the whole interaction and the antagonism between her and Gina Gershon begins. And then she's got to go to the cheetah, and we get to learn all about the cheetah there, and Hope and everything like that. So yeah, it is. And as I said before, it's been a really long time since I've seen the movie, but I wanted to refresh my memory of it, so I watched it again last night, and I'm looking, I was like, it's not nearly as bad as I remember it being. At the time, let's admit, the first time I saw it, I was seduced by Elizabeth Berkley's perfect tits, lovely ass, and xenomorph vagina. But then on top of that, then after I watched it a few other times, because I did have it on video, I watched it a few other times, it started to grate on me a little bit. It's like, what, this is kind of an annoying. I don't like it as much as I thought I did, because you've already seen all this shit. You've seen the nudity and the sex and stuff like that. So I put it away for a while, and then years pass and life changes, and then I decide, let's do this thing with Mike, and I rewatched it again. It's like, what? Here I am, 20 some years older, 15 years, I guess, something like that, and it's actually not as bad as I remember it being, and that's quite an accomplishment.
Movie that definitely gets better with perspective.
And it absolutely does. And actually, the funny is, one of the things that I always wanted to be early on around my college life, and then leading up to basically not stripper, not this time though. Look at this bod, man. Oh, perfect. Just like Chris Farley, right? I want to be a director, and we've had this discussion about Twin Peaks. David Lynch was always one of my favorite influences, and I've always wanted to do stylistic, artistic type films like he does, with the different camera shots, stuff like that. So when I watch a movie over and over again, I start, I know the story, I know what's going to happen. I start noticing the other things. I start noticing the backgrounds and the way the film, the shots are framed like that. This movie has one of my favorite all-time shots in it, and it's the scene where I'm trying to. I think it's the sequence where Nomi just found out that she's not going to be the understudy, because Zach promised her to be the understudy, and then Gina Gershon's like, "Nah, hell, we're not going to do that." And it's a shot of her sitting on a car or something like that, eating a hamburger, looking at the stardust neon lights as dusk is falling, and it is, with the connection of the shot and the music, the background music by David Stewart, it adds just this ethereal type of, as you said, alternate fictional reality that Vegas is. And that shot alone basically makes you say, I wish I was in that shot. Not only because of the perfect ass and tits of Elizabeth Berkley, but because of that's one of the main reasons why, and her xenomorph pussy. But then on top of that, it's just the shot itself of the glorious sunset and the neon lights and just the reflections of everything. And I thought that was one of my favorite shots. And then what I noticed yesterday was the framing of the showgirl performances, and that was enticing as well. So Verhoeven really did a bang up job in directing the film. There's really nothing when it comes to angles and shots, stuff like that I hated. There's nothing that made me go, this fucking sucks. This is a terrible shot. What are you thinking? Why are you doing this? He frames stuff so well in this movie. And, granted, the pool sex we've already discussed, but I mean, despite the fact that if you look at it with, as you said, the neon in the background, the water dripping on them, the splashing, the constant flashing, and her tits popping up and down, it's a nicely framed shot. Am I wrong?
No. The movie's incredibly well made, and even like most of the acting is pretty on point. Elizabeth Berkley might actually be one of the weak spots in terms of acting, although, to a large degree, I'm sure she sold the movie because everybody wanted to see Jesse naked. So,
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, so, but I mean, like, the acting overall is really good. It's beautifully shot. A lot of the writing is really good. Nobody had seen, it was basically like, a 70s style exploitation movie, but done as a huge Hollywood epic. And that's what just made it so weird and unapproachable, I think, for people when it initially came out. Like, it really is something that's just never been done before, and it's never been done since. you couldn't walk. I don't care how many great movies you need. You can't walk into a studio and just be like, listen, I want to make a movie about strippers, spend tens of millions of dollars, like whatever, what's a good grossing movie, 200 or 300 million?
Yeah,
Like a
nowadays, yeah, it
Marvel
is. Yeah.
if Stan Lee went in and was like, I'm going to start by spending $300 million, and it's basically just going to be a movie of naked women walking around a strip club. Like it wouldn't happen. Like this is just something that could never happen again.
And that's what, yeah. And as I said, that's what makes it great. And as I said, it's one of those films that, pleasantly surprised me because like, oh God, I'm going to have to watch it. I'm going to have to slug through it. And then when I talk to Mike the next day, I'm going to have to pretend, I liked it a little bit, but no, actually looking at it again in a perspective about, I think it's been, as I said, 5, 10 years, maybe 15 years since I'd seen it the last time, it does invariably grow on you a little bit, and you start to see that because everything that happens. You've seen it before, so you remember it. You put in the back of your mind, your spank bank or whatever you want to call it. You put in the back of your head, and you remember that, and then you're like, okay, I remember it being this way, but you know what? It's not quite as bad. Even the really terrible lines that are said, the stripper dancer line, or must be weird for nobody coming on you, which just come out of left field and stuff like that. They actually, it makes sense within the framework of the film. It's
No, it does. It's one of
yeah.
those things. So like I say this a lot about like like I've said, to me a perfect movie is the original Evil Dead movie, because even the flaws and even the faults and the shortcomings because of their budgetary restrictions end up working for the movie in a way. Like it becomes part of this sort of quirky charm of the movie. And now they play it up like they have a big budget TV series going into its third season now after 4 feature films and video games and everything else, and they actually like play up the weird, quirky, low budget aesthetic of it on purpose when they have the money to not do that. And that's kind of what Showgirls has become. Like it's just something like that exists in its own world. Like there's no other movie like it. You're never gonna see basically an exploitation movie that they spent tens of millions of dollars on and had this huge noteworthy cast in it, and the crazy detailed, opulent set pieces that these dances are and things like that. Like there's just nothing like it. You have no basis for comparison in this movie. So even the lines that are like crazy and out there and don't make sense, it all plays into this sort of like unreality that they've created. Like it's something that exists entirely in its own world.
Absolutely, I agree. So I think on that note, is there anything else you want to touch on there, Mike?
No, I think we hit all the main talking points of the movie.
All right, well, thank you for watching, everybody. Thank you for dealing with this bot. I know it was terrible. And our very NSFW discussion, which is, it's, as I said before, is very freeing. Now I got to get back into that closet a little. Oh, I can't do it as much. It'll come out every once in a while, but it's fun. But Mike, thanks again for joining me on this.
I just want you for episode 2, do some like really serious movie and try and keep it as crazy as this one is.
Definitely thinking about it.
Do some like epic World War II drama and try and work xenomorph pussy into
it. Platoon, yeah. There we go. You got the prostitutes in Vietnam. Was like, hey, sucky, sucky, my xenomorph pussy. On that note, we should probably end the show now. Mike, tell people where they can see you and what's all about your life and everything about that. Your band, your other podcast. Just let it loose.
You can find me on pretty much any social media platform as official Pagan. Go on. The best thing to find stuff about me is to go on YouTube and search Pagan Dead Girls. That's my new album that's coming out. We are putting out a music video for every song off the album, so you can go in there and watch the videos as they go up. And they're all going to go up on Amazon Prime as well, along with exclusive videos that Amazon customers will
get. And your podcast with your soulmate, Kelly?
That is called Squat Cobbler. It is part of the whole Nurture and Support Network, except we say fuck and dick and stuff a lot more. Well, Mel says it a lot, but we say it a little bit more. Yeah, so check all that stuff out. And my latest movie, Faces of Snuff, is out now.
There you go. Thank you very much, Mike. What am I doing next? Next week, I've got 2 shows, actually. My weekend is booked. My list show with Jerry Fletcher is coming out next Saturday. We'll be doing our second round of top 10 comfort food films. Maybe Showgirls will make its way on there now. It's, it's like I'm bringing
What would the
even more
comfort
pussy.
food be with that?
Well, no, it was no. The thing is, what I describe it that way. I described it as a type of movie where you've seen it a billion times, but you're home alone. You're either sick or you're bored or whatever, and you just want to sit down and watch a movie, but you don't want to watch like a movie you've never seen before. You grab one of your favorites, you put it on, and you know all the lines. And if you're say with me, a lot of times when I'm sick and I stay home from work, I'm usually sitting on the couch and I watch like 2 or 3 movies, and I'll fall asleep because I'm sick. I'm fighting the virus, stuff like that. So I can put on a movie that I've seen a million times. I could doze off in the middle of it and then wake up and know exactly what's going on and what's happening and stuff like that. That's what the comfort food type movies are. So
that movie for me, just since I won't be on that show, just to throw my 2 cents in there, the movie Rush.
Okay. I can see that. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, there's all kinds of different descriptions and ways you look at it. So if there's one of the types of films you can just sit there and love and watch over and over again, that's great. And then next Sunday is my my first Have a Happy of the year. I'm going to be trying to do 1 episode a month where we're just going to discuss the good, happy stuff that my cast of co-anchors, co-hosts are all happy about. Next Sunday's episode, I've got Bronwyn, I've got Brianna, and I've got Amy Figaro. Should be a lot of fun. All of them had major life events.
How long do you think it'll be before Bronwyn says, more pussy?
She might actually say it if I can get her to. I'll try to see
the
if I can
challenge
do
out
that.
there, Bronwyn.
Absolutely. So that would make people happy, I think, as long as it doesn't bite it off. And there's also a possibility that maybe tomorrow, it all depends on timing, so like that, I might do a show. I don't know if you heard, Mike, Miguel Ferrer died. Do you know Miguel Ferrer?
Yes.
Twin Peaks. Of course you do. Albert Rosenfeld. Yeah, he's my favorite character actor of all. Yeah, RoboCop. Traffic he was in, The Stand, millions of TV shows, does the voice of a lot of animated villains, stuff like that. He was one of my favorite character actors of all time, and his death has sort of not wrecked me, but has made me think about it. And I think I might just sit down and maybe do like a half hour in memoriam of Miguel, because he was one of my favorite actors. So we'll see if I get around to doing that. If not, next week we'll do the list show and the happy show. So for Mike Belinsky, thanks again for coming. I'm Dylan Lang. Dylan knows. I think next week's episode I shall call it a Xenomorph Pussy. Good night, everybody.
Good night.